Okay, so today we're diving into a really big change from the US Department of Education, and it's sending some serious shockwaves through the world of beauty schools. We're talking about a brand new federal warning system that could totally change the game for anyone hoping to become a beauty professional. Let's break down what this actually means for you. All right, so picture this. You're passionate about cosmetology. Maybe you're natural at aesthetics, or you're dreaming of being a nail tech. You're all set to turn that dream into a career, and you're starting to look at schools to make it a reality. But hold on, just as you're getting ready to tackle your financial aid forms, a new alert has popped up from the federal government, and it's specifically designed to make you stop and think twice about the school you choose. So, what's this all about? Well, it all comes down to a new feature inside the FAFSA system, the free application for federal student aid. And believe me, it's a pretty big shift in how the government is trying to be more transparent with students. It's called the Lower Earnings Indicator. And here's the deal. If a school's graduates, on average, end up earning less money than a typical high school graduate in that state, the FAFSA system now puts a big warning label on it. The whole idea is to give you a heads up about whether a program is actually likely to pay off financially down the road. And this is the exact message students are seeing now. It's not subtle at all. I mean, can you imagine? You've picked out your dream schools, you're excited, and then boom, this message pops up. It is absolutely designed to get your attention right away. And they're not exactly playing coy with the design either. Any school that gets flagged shows up highlighted in red. And right next to it, there's a little trash can icon, basically nudging you to just delete it from your list. So how big of a deal is this? Well, it's huge. According to a press release from the Louisville Beauty Academy, which is our source for this explainer, the majority of beauty colleges across the entire country are now getting flagged by this new system, including a whole bunch in states like Kentucky. But this warning didn't just appear out of thin air. The source material frames this whole thing as a symptom of a much, much bigger problem, a full-blown national crisis when it comes to the cost of beauty education. And this is where things get kind of weird. There's this huge disconnect, right? On one hand, the beauty industry is absolutely booming. There's tons of demand for jobs, and it's an amazing path for entrepreneurs. But on the other hand, the cost of getting in the door, the tuition for beauty school, has just skyrocketed, putting it completely out of reach for so many people. So, with all these warnings and ridiculously high costs, is there another way? Well, the source material we're looking at presents a totally different model, one it calls a debt-free alternative. And that brings us to the Louisville Beauty Academy, or LBA. In their press release, they make a point of saying that their institution is an exception. It's not getting flagged by this new FAFSA awarding system at all. So that leads to the obvious question, right? How? How did they manage to avoid this? What exactly makes their models so different that they don't even show up in these federal warnings? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple, and it was a totally intentional choice. LBA operates completely outside of the federal financial aid system. They don't do Title IV programs, which means no federal student loans, no Pell Grants. And by making that choice, they aren't even subject to this kind of federal warning label in the first place. When you put the two models side by side like this, the difference is just crystal clear. You've got the schools using federal aid, which can get hit with FAFSA warnings and often lead students into debt. Then you have the LBA model, as they describe it, which avoids both of those issues. They argue it lets them have way more transparent pricing because they're not inflating tuition just to absorb grant money. And according to the source, this independent model isn't some new experiment. It's built on nearly a decade of experience and a few core principles that have actually earned them some national recognition. Let's just look at the numbers they provide. They're reporting nearly 2,000 graduates so far, and they estimate their annual economic impact on their local community in Kentucky is somewhere between $20 and $50 million. That's pretty significant. And it's not just them saying they're doing a good job. Their model has actually been getting some national attention. The source points out that in 2025, LBA was named one of the top 100 small businesses in America by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And on top of that, they were recognized by the National Small Business Association for their focus on affordability. The source claims that their whole approach really boils down to two key principles. First, they have a strict no student labor policy. That means students are there to learn, not to be used as unpaid labor to generate revenue for the school. And second, what they call true affordability. That means setting an honest tuition price from the very beginning instead of inflating it way up and then subtracting grants to make it seem like you're getting a good deal. So, after all that, what does this actually mean for you, the person trying to pick a school? Well, the source gives some pretty clear advice for how to navigate this whole new situation. All right, here are the 5 key steps they recommend. Number 1, go read the federal data for yourself. Don't just take a school's word for it. 2, compare the real total cost of the programs. 3, you have to physically tour every single school you are seriously considering. 4, get a genuine feel for the culture there. And number 5, be really skeptical of any tuition math that relies on after-Pell Grant numbers to look good. So the bottom line from this source material is this. In a world that's now full of these new federal warnings about low earnings and high debt, they're putting their model out there as a transparent, affordable, and most importantly, a debt-free alternative that students should at least consider. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. This new FAFSA warning is forcing a huge national conversation about the real value and cost of career training. So could models like this one that operate totally outside the traditional federal aid system, could that be the future? It's definitely something to think about.